For a very long time, most of us have been warning the American people that this is coming. Many of our mainstream media and national leaders have been fueling the flames of hate, anger, frustration, and division daily for years, and witnessing an explosion of violence of this magnitude was only a matter of time. Last week, we saw protests in at least 145 different United States cities, and reports of rebellion, looting, and violence are so fast that it's impossible to keep up with all of them. So far, at least 40 United States cities have imposed curfews. The National Guard has been activated in at least 15 states, and at least 4,100 people have been arrested. On Sunday night, the violence in Washington D.C. was so worrying that President Trump actually ran into a secret shelter under the White House. Agents reportedly rushed Trump to the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, which was used after the 9/11 terror attacks, and is equipped with secret tunnels on Sunday night. Trump was moved to the bunker before more than 50 Secret Service agents were injured during the sixth night of violence prompted by George Floyd's Monday death, the New York Times reported. It is located in the ground below the east wing of the White House, but its exact placement is kept secret. To me, it is absolutely crazy that rebels are allowed to hurt a Secret Service officer one after another. It just shows how much things have changed. Years ago, D.C., when I worked in the area, the White House was tremendously respected, and everyone understood that anyone trying to deal with the White House would be seriously handled. In those days, anyone attacking a Secret Service agent would have deeply regretted doing so. But now we allow our Secret Service agents to kick, punch, and be exposed to body fluids through Saturday and early Sunday. More than 60 Secret Service uniformed division officers and special agents suffered multiple injuries from bricks, rocks, bottles, fireworks, and other items hurled at them. Secret Service personnel were also directly physically assaulted as they were kicked, punched, and exposed to bodily fluids. The agency said a total of 11 injured personnel were transported to a local hospital and treated for non-life-threatening injuries. What's going on in the world in this country? In addition to these disgusting actions, peaceful protesters in the DC decided that it would be a really good idea to distort the Lincoln Memorial and the National World War II Memorial. The iconic Lincoln Memorial in Washington D.C. and the National World War II Memorial are among the landmarks in the nation's capital that were vandalized amid weekend protests and defaced with graffiti. In the wake of last night's demonstrations, there are numerous instances of vandalism to sites around the National Mall. The National Park Service for the National Mall said in a tweet on Sunday, along with photos of monuments covered in graffiti. This is no longer related to George Floyd. At this point, the protests were captured by radical leftists who tried to use this crisis as an opportunity to promote violence, and others are taking advantage of the cap provided by these protests to commit crimes they wouldn't normally commit. For example, the loot we witnessed in New York was unprecedented. In New York City, despite clashes in Lower Manhattan, police seemed to abandon much of the island to looters, who ransacked some of the most valuable retail real estate on the planet: Best Buy, North Face, Coach, Kate Spade, and Apple. After 10 p.m., rioters in Union Square ignited boxes outside the Strand bookstore. They were captured on video smashing the windows of a Walgreens pharmacy and looting a GameStop store. And in Chicago, the looters have been hitting store after store in broad daylight. In Chicago, there was plenty of looting in broad daylight. A drive from the loop of the city's deep south side saw nearly every block feature at least one battered business, one beat cop bemoaned to the Daily Beast. These aren't protesters, they are opportunists. They are just destroying and looting because it's the cool things to do. Isn't this the way I've warned my audience for months? Why do you think I added such violent protests to my videos? Needless to say, it wasn't just entertaining listeners. I was constantly warning that these things were coming, and now they are. Others sound loud alarms. For example, former police officer Marty Britton shares the following in April. I saw many of our large metropolitan areas in complete and total chaos. It was absolute insanity. Rogue gangs banding together and creating absolute havoc. Looting, rioting, murdering, people running for their lives. I saw great fires on both large and small buildings. The violence was staggering to my mind. Unfortunately, this is just the beginning. Although the riots violently attacked the CNN headquarters, CNN and other mainstream media outlets continue to apologize for their behavior. CNN Lemon's Don Lemon actually suggested that these riots on Saturday could be a mechanism for restructuring in our country. We don't know what's happening in this country right now, Lemon said. Perhaps this is some sort of mechanism for restructure in our country, or some sort of change in our country for us to deal with whatever we need to deal with in this country, as we look at pictures on the right of burning and pictures on the left of looting. He went on lament the situation, but said it could be indicative of those with no other option and nothing left to lose. This is quite actually sad to watch, he said, and it is an indicative of the pain and the sadness in this country of people who feel they have no other alternative but to exhibit this behavior in our country, no other option. When you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to lose. No, our country is not restructured. The reality is that our country is literally disintegrating in stitches, and many of us warn that this will happen for many years. Of course, these uprisings come at a time when our nation is already dealing with a major global epidemic and a historical economic collapse. The following comes from the Seattle Times. America experienced a wave of burning cities in the aftermath of a racial killing in 1968. America was hit by a pandemic in 1918 that killed even more people than the 102,000 who have died of the coronavirus. America was battered by a Great Depression in the 1930s and laid low by a Great Recession just a decade ago. America has never experienced all of this kind of tumult in the same moment. It is more than the system can bear, and people grieve for the country. If America remains on the way it is now, America's end will come much faster than most people wouldn't dare to imagine. This is a message we have shared on Daily News Report, but most Americans seem quite content to remain in a state of deep sleep. As I have warned my listeners more than I can count, we have entered a time of perfect collapse, and global events will continue to accelerate. When you think a crisis has passed, something else will happen. We will witness one big event after another, and everything that can shake will be shaken. Not everyone is surprised by these riots. We have been repeatedly warned that these things are coming, but most of the country did not want to listen. As the economy collapses, a deadly epidemic sweeps the country, and riots erupt in most of our major cities. Hopefully, more people will start listening, because the truth is that time is running out for America, and if we stay on our current road, there is no future for our great nation once. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.